All right, today we're talking about inscribed angles. So find the measure of an inscribed angle and what's the measure of an angle between a tangent and a chord. So first of all, what is an inscribed angle? So remember, central angle is something that comes from the center and goes out, so that would be your central angle. An inscribed angle comes from the outside, so it's coming from the edge of a circle going back out to the other edge. So an angle made by two chords with a vertex on the circle. A note, an inscribed angle is equal to half the arc. So if this arc right here was 100, this angle would be 50. All right, so how do we use that? You want to figure out the values of A and B. So A is going to be right here. And then if we go from the edge where it's touching, you can follow this line back. And then where it's touching, follow the line back, and we get your inscribed angle. So if we want to find A, we call that PT. That's going to be 2 times 60, because we want to be double this angle to go out there. And this would be 120. So A is going to be 120. So now we want to find B right here. So you want to figure out what arc that goes with. Start at your vertex and draw your line out. And that's where your one part is going to be. Draw your line out. And then this is your arc connecting those two. So I need to figure out what PS is. So it's the 120 from A. But then we also have this little chunk right here. So we're going to add 30 to get 150. And then angle B is going to be half of that 150, or 75 degrees. So here's a bunch more. If you want to figure out angle A, start at A and draw your lines out, and connect the two. So we get this chunk. So the measure of angle A is going to be half of 100 plus 90, or 190, which is 95 degrees. Same idea for B. If we start here, draw your lines out, find your arc. The measure of angle B is going to be half of 64 plus 90, so half of 154, which is 77. And then keep going, keep doing that. You should get that the measure of angle C is 85 and the measure of angle D is 103, if you keep going through those. So some more definitions, different properties. So the first property is angles inscribed in a semicircle always have to be 90. So angles inscribed on a semicircle are 90 degrees. So there's my center. This would be the semicircle right here. So if I inscribe an angle, so I get something like this, this has to be 90 right there. Next one, so angles intercepting the same arc have to be congruent. So angles intercepting, need a T in there. Arc are congruent. So I have an arc or an angle right here going like this. and then I have another angle that connects to those same 2 points, they have to be the same. So like this would be 30 and this would also be 30 and your arc would be 60. And the last one is for a quadrilateral. So you have a 4-sided shape inside your circle. Opposite angles add to 180. So for a quadrilateral, opposite angles add to 180. So if I draw a quadrilateral in here, this angle and this angle add to 180, and then this angle and this angle add to 180. So how can we use that? So on this, we want to figure out what is angle 1. So draw out here, we get a line right there, a line right there. Here's our half circles. We're looking at this arc, which has to be a semicircle, which makes this 90 degrees. So angle 1 equals 90. Now if we're looking over here at this other stuff, here's 38. So if I draw out the lines, we go like this and like this, right? But then I want to figure out angle 2. So I'm going to draw out my lines for angle 2. And they're touching the same 2 points, which means 32 has to be the same, or 38 degrees. All right, one more. So here we want to figure out what these different angles are. Here's our semicircle, or our diameter. So this is 180, which makes this 90. This is 180, which makes this 90. And then we can go from there to figure out the other ones. So if we want angle 4, we have 60 plus 180, plus 80. And then you want to divide that by 2. So you are going to get 140 divided by 2 gives you 70 for right here. And then to find 2, you can just subtract from 180. So you can do 180 subtract 70 to get what's left over, and you get 110. Okay. Last definition, the angle between tangents and chords. So this is going to be half the intercepted arc. So what that means, if we have a circle, and I have a chord right here, so there's your chord, right? Here's the tangent. So this is the tangent, this is the chord. You're going to be half of this arc. So if this arc is 100, this angle is 50. So how do we use that? So in this diagram, SR is tangent to the circle. So if PMQ, so this PMQ right here, is 212, we want to figure out what's angle PQR. So we're looking for this angle. So there's more than one option here. You could divide this by 2 and get your inner angle right there, which is going to be 106, and then subtract from 180. So do 180 subtract 106, and that will give you 74 degrees, and that's what goes right here. Or you could subtract 212 from 360 and then divide that by 2, and that would also give you the same information. So if you did instead 360 divided or subtract 212, you should get 148, and that would be this chunk right here. Divide by 2 to get 74. Last example. So here we have 35. We want to figure out what x is. So this angle comes out to J and comes out to L. So this arc has to be double 35. So it's going to be 70. So 35 times 2. And then you want to figure out what that x is. So we have 70 right here. X is going to then be half of 70, or 35 degrees. And then y you can find by figuring out your triangle here. So we have a right angle. You can do 180, subtract 90, subtract 35 to get 55 for y. Right there. This is your optional assignment, but do with the 12.3 on Math Excel.